what are you each most proud of in your respective eras of Xbox? And let's just go chronologically. I'll start with Seamus at the end.
It's getting it out. I mean, it's difficult. We all talk about this, like the challenges you go through. I can't imagine, being in Peter's position with the Red Ring of Death. I just can't do it. I can't imagine having responsibility for, such a big, important part of Microsoft's business. And I have no idea how we handled, getting that done physically as an electronics project that gets manufactured.
Yeah. As
a business. I remember we started out, we were like looking at books on writing a business plan, and just even just in the big company politics of like becoming credible enough to at some point like be on stage, like essentially emceeing the keynote of CES with Bill Gates with a game console. How the hell did that happen, So, just being able to fake it long enough that it came out. And like we talked about before, it's obvious to all of us as gamers that if you can be honest with gamers and give them great games, you'll have a business, almost no matter what you do. And so we knew that was the case, and we got it over the line.
Peter Moore?
Red Rings of Death was a difficult period because I thought we'd let gamers down. People had invested $2.99, $3.99, depending on what box you got, and these things were failing. And it was a pivotal moment there of whether this brand, which we had worked so hard to get going to compete with PlayStation and compete with Nintendo, would survive. And to Seamus's point, within Microsoft, it wasn't like we were a video game company. We had to fight for relevance, we had to fight for resources, we had to fight sometimes because the internal politics of some Microsoft employees, and it was not the case by the time we got the 360 out the door, actually resented. We were a drag on earnings. We were not making money. We were costing the company hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars.
Right, not until a few years, 3-4 years into the 360 that it started becoming...
People walk up to you in the dining hall and say, as a shareholder, I resent the fact that you're dragging my price down.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, but what we did with the 360 is start to turn Microsoft into a consumer-facing company. We started to make the entertainment side of what we were doing fun, and we turned the employees into fans. Our Halo beta, we had 15,000 Microsoft
Halo
employees.
2,
yeah, and then games like, and then Crackdown, and I can just see all these games coming now, and we were creating fun, and we made it more of a fun place to work, even though we saw ourselves as the rebels out in Millennium there. And it's with great pride. I went up to see Phil a couple of weeks ago, and I never got to work in this magnificent building they're now in, because
opulent palace.
It is an opulent palace. That's where the money goes. But surviving Red Rings of Death, getting through that, creating a fun atmosphere.
I think you misspoke on the Red Rings of Death too, because I know I can simulate Bomber in that moment. But you said that he wanted to invest that in order to protect the brand. My belief is, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you wanted to correct that because you wanted to keep your promise to the gamers.
Yeah, and that's what Steve meant as well, is we Microsoft deliver a product and it didn't live up to what we said it would do. There was no question we needed to put that right.
Yeah.
No question whatsoever. And Steve is one of my favorite people of all time. And I had the great honor of working next to Steve in a lot of these things. And the other thing I think fondly about during that period, Robbie Bach and I would go over once a quarter and sit with Bill Gates for 90 minutes on a 2-on-1. And it was an out-of-body experience for me to sit with Bill, who had a great deal of passion for the Xbox. Great deal of passion for the Xbox. Came to E3, was with me, we did Live Anywhere. I unveiled my Grand Theft Auto tattoo with Bill on stage. And Bill still has this impish sense of humor, and he took great delight, as you well know, as both of you well know, in what we did with the Xbox. Because I think he felt it was important not only to stop Sony stealing a march on the living room, but to bring a little bit of fun and humanity to the Microsoft brand. Remember, we were operating during this period under consent decree from the Department of Justice, because this was a period when the US government wanted to split Microsoft in two because of Internet Explorer and Windows and create two separate companies. And we were navigating those waters at that time. And Bill, who was passionate about this, his dad, remember, is a lawyer, and Bill was the pseudo general counsel of Microsoft and just had a real passion about keeping this company complete.
Yeah.
And remember, gave Apple $150 million to keep him in business, if you remember those days.
Way back.
So we had a competitor. And at that, but
the thing about Bill is that he's genuinely passionate about all this stuff, and we would go and work on stuff and designs and bills of material and this crazy crap for weeks and weeks and weeks, and send emails out to different people with updates and stuff, and then you go for your Bill G meeting, and he would know it all.
Oh yeah,
he would know it all.
An alien,
and it was like what, and you'd think that he was some sort of machine, and then as you're on the way out, if it was hard or something, like there were several times when you'd go, hey, you get it done.
Until you did something
and you know
stupid.
what? Like
until you did something
I'll
stupid.
tell you, if you glossed over something, tried to bullshit something,
you would get an email that said, and the subject matter would be, "This is the stupidest effing thing I've ever seen."
Yes.
And I still have that email. And Spencer, I think you were part of this. Somebody told me one day we were running our MSN game servers on NT servers that were basically chewing gum, duct tape, and baling wire.
The Zone.
Yes, and so somebody said, we're going to take these things down and we got to put them on proper servers and whatever. So I said, sure, what could go wrong? So we take down the bridge servers, all right? And I get an email the next, I didn't think twice about this. I don't know, what do I know about NT servers? But take them down, we need to update the servers because there are a lot of people who are having fun playing simple basic games.
Maybe like
backgammon.
Bridge.
Yeah.
And just maybe the two richest men in the world
Enjoy some online bridge.
like to play bridge against each other.
There was a big backlash against that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So I get an email because Bill Gates goes online that night for his regular bridge game against Warren Buffett. Servers are down.
Zone's down.
The zone is down because we're upgrading the servers.
Oh.
And I have that classic email, which is, it's just not, you're an idiot, but these are the 55 reasons why you're an idiot. And I still have that at home today.
We had nothing but support. There was a graphics meeting, and some guy from can't remember what, from Web TV, who questioned something, and the meeting was going great, and I didn't quite remember what the spec was of a chip, and so I said, oh no, we're better than that. And Bill looked at me and he said, you can't get by this one on reputation. You better go be sure. And he got up and he left the meeting, and there were like 30 guys in this room, and everyone looked at me and I was like, do I have a job? Oh.
That's the way he rolled.
Phil Spencer, we went into Bill Gates territory there, which is great. Phil Spencer, so what is your proudest moment in your time with Xbox? What are you most proud of?
Cuphead.
I mean, it'll seem self-serving, but the last year in what the team's been able to do with the brand, everybody knows our 2 E3s ago, me fumbling the price on stage, the Sony, here's how you trade used games, people living in submarines, like all of the stuff hurt our fans, hurt our brand, hurt the team. And last year's E3, I kind of called a little bit of a honeymoon, because we were kind of a new leadership team. We could stand on stage, show games for 90 minutes. The games dropped the mic thing, and it was just refreshing for people because they didn't have to hear about television and a bunch of other things.
It was brave of you. You got all gamers, and you said, we're okay, now we're making games. You had to take some heat internally for that, but that was the right move all the way.
And I think we would all say, like even this year's E3, I stand there and I say we're bringing backward compatibility and the place goes crazy. The amount of code I wrote on backward compatibility, 0. I said, hey, maybe we should go do this. And smart people go off and they're able to kind of do the impossible and make it possible. And so for me, from a pride standpoint, I look at what the first parties are doing, which obviously I have a close affinity with the teams and what they've shown up with this year. But it's not just the products that they're delivering or the features that they're delivering, it's kind of how they were delivering. And I'm fixated a little bit on backward compatibility for no other reason other than the leaders of the team actually brought them down and had them in the arena.
I mean, people need to realize that backwards compatibility is like a totally non-trivial technology issue.
PowerPC to x86,
that's absurdly difficult to do.
But the feature kind of ignored that team this last year has really engaged, and they've refound their stride. Yeah, we have great competition with Sony, and they had a good show, and they have great products. I saw Uncharted today. I went over to their booth, and they gave me a tour. It looks fantastic, right? But the industry's doing well, and the Team Xbox feels like it's really, really delivering right now. And from a pride standpoint, to just kind of show up and go to the opulent Studio C and see the people that are working on it and what
extraordinarily
it means to them.
opulent is the
it's just so great to be part of that, and sometimes stand on stage and represent the team. But the pride over the last year and just what the team is doing, and kind of as much how they're doing it and why they're doing it as what they're doing, is just phenomenal. So to me, for just in all my time in Xbox, to see what we've been able to do, it's a little similar to Red Rings in some way, that you need to kind of pull yourself up, say we're going to go ahead. There's nothing that says you should or you can, but you think you should, and it happens.
Well, I think after some of that launch messaging, you were definitely in a Red Ring situation.
Yeah.
The way it reacted.
Yeah.
You really were.
That's how the team took it. And I think even in a Red Ring situation, it's a little bit easier in some ways, because you point to this mechanical issue, heat dissipation issue, and you say, okay, physics are getting us. I mean, this was kind of self-inflicted, right? We shot ourselves in the foot standing in the water. And if people play Destiny, know it's when you die. And so it was, and when you're self-inflicted, sometimes from people who are a few levels above, and it feels like, man, I'm working really hard and this messaging's messing up what I'm trying to do. It was nice to see the team really engage and stay with it. And so long-winded, sorry. But from a pride standpoint, definitely this last year has kind of been what Xbox was about from the beginning, and why it was created, from the middle and us really becoming relevant on the 360 generation. And then right now with the team just kind of leaning all in on, no, we're doing this for the right reasons, and we want to deliver a product that gamers will love. And
the idea that guys like this would be running this little box business that we made is extraordinary. It's like, that's a really cool thing, man.
Yeah.
Seeing these guys.
Let me just have the last word here, because Phil is selling himself short. As a third-party publisher that looked at what we needed to do to feed our families, relying upon Xbox being successful. Because what you don't want in this world is a single platform dominance. And what we love as gamers, and what we love from the business point of view as third-party publishers, is a very competitive marketplace. And to Phil's point, there come situations, and Red Rings was it for me, but in Phil's situation, we came off an event called Newcastle, and as publishers we went, boy, that just didn't feel right. And the Newcastle event was a precursor to E3.
It was our tent up in
and it was on campus, and the gaming message wasn't clear. The authentication of discs for the secondary market was so confusing. And there comes a situation in business or in life, there's a saying, cometh the hour, cometh the man. And what Xbox then needed was somebody that had come up through the roots of what the company was about, and more recently what Xbox is about, that stood for gamers and stood for bringing Xbox back to the core that Ed Fries, Kevin Backus, and Seamus Blackley had built, and that I had the honor of carrying and passing on then to the next generation. And boy, did Xbox need Phil Spencer. Somebody that could stand there, speak to gamers, look them in the eye, say, we screwed up, we know what we did, we're going to fix this, and bring this thing back within a 12-month period to where we are at E3 with a stunning press conference. And to Phil's point, and Sony did a great press conference as well, and I think we did all right as well.
Yes,
but from the perspective of a healthy industry, it's not healthy without Xbox and PlayStation going at it, and Nintendo starting to get some wind at their backs again. And that wouldn't have happened.
Well, and you talked about starting this with Sony as that adversary to shoot for, and now look, we're ending the conversation. Now we have the two titans.
Yeah.